Alright guys, today I'm going to be doing an oil change on this Ferris 1000Z or Z1000 zero turn lawnmower. It's a commercial model lawnmower, but really, it doesn't really matter what kind of lawnmower it is. Oil change is going to pretty much be the same on any type of lawnmower like this. Pretty straightforward. You got to find where the oil drains from, find the oil filter, which is typically pretty easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk around to the back of this thing where the motor's at. We're going to take a look at it. Okay, so I've got this Kawasaki FH680V. That's the motor on this machine. I'm really a big fan of Kawasaki commercial engines on these commercial mowers. I've had quite a few commercial mowers, and for some reason I'm just fond of the Kawasaki motors over the Kohlers for whatever reason. Kohler's a really good motor too, but everybody has their preference. So when you go to change oil, most of the time on these, you're going to kind of take a look around. I see right down here, obviously, oil filter. You've got your oil fill and check right here. And then so typically on the same side, you're going to have your drain. Well, I was noticing on this mower, it's actually pretty cool. If you get up in here, you can see up there is where the oil comes out. But Ferris has this thing attached on here. It's got a hose that comes out to right here, so you can drain your oil. It seems pretty cool. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and get started doing that, and you guys can see how it's done. Alright, so got my nifty little oil pan down here that I can slide up under there to catch the oil. Now I got to break this oil plug loose. That was a little bit hot. So I'm going to try and get it with this. It might be kind of stiff on here. We shall see. Yeah, I'm going to have to get another wrench. Okay, got another wrench to hold the back side of that. See if I can break this loose. There we go. So got it broke loose. This is pointing up, so I'm going to have to kind of point it straight down into that pan, because right behind there's the muffler, and I really don't want to get oil on the muffler, because when you start this thing back up and that gets hot, it's going to stink really bad. So now that that is loosened up, I'm going to take this, I'm going to point it straight down into that pan. I'm going to scoot this camera around just a hair so maybe you guys can see a little bit better. Point that straight down into that pan. And there we go. And so that's draining down in there. The other thing, it's pretty easy to find where the oil drains out of these things. Easy to find the filter. The only thing you really need after that is you have to figure out how much oil goes back into this thing. You have to figure out what type of oil filter you need, and you also have to figure out the oil capacity for the motor, because you don't want to underfill or overfill these motors, because you'll do damage to them. So you can, the easiest thing to do that I've found to do now, it's like so much easier than it used to be. We have Google, so you can usually with these motors, if you know what type of motor it is, you can just Google, like this is an FH680V Kawasaki motor. So I just got on Google and said FH680V oil capacity, and it immediately told me how much oil this thing holds. And usually it will tell you how much oil with the filter and how much oil without the filter. So like if you're doing an oil change and you're not changing the filter, it may change how much oil you put in it, because sometimes people just change the oil and not the filter too. I always change the filter. It's like, why wouldn't you? And then the other thing is, like, I got a full maintenance kit for this, so I'm also going to be putting plugs in it, and I'm going to be putting a new air filter on it. And you can actually just, a lot of times, get on Google and put in the model number of the motor you've got, and with, like, I searched for an FH680V maintenance kit, and a lot of times it'll come up with a bunch of different companies that sell just whole maintenance kits, your yearly maintenance kits for these mowers. It will be the spark plugs, the air filter, and a fuel filter, oil, and an oil filter. So it makes it really simple. You can do just your yearly maintenance. You know, I know a lot of guys, they take their mowers in, and you know, they're probably paying a couple $100 a year, if not more, $200-300 a year to have maintenance done on these mowers. And you know, for some people it's worth it to do that. But you know, if you can get a yearly maintenance kit for, I think I got this maintenance kit for like $40, then just go ahead and do that. And you know, it's so easy to do this. Just save yourself probably a couple $100. So this oil is, I'm going to go ahead and let this oil drain out of here, and then I'm going to show you how to get that filter off. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this oil filter off here, but you got to be careful, because when you start pulling this filter off here, oil is going to start to drain down on the motor, and it's going to get all over the place. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take some paper towels or some shop towels and stick them up in there under the oil filter as best you can, okay, to catch a lot of that oil. Now you may or may not be able to get this off using your hand. You may have to have an oil wrench, which I've got one right here. This is a really old style oil wrench, but it seems to get the job done most of the time. I'm going to see if I can get this off with my hand. Oh, and it's not very tight, so I think I can get it off here. So there we go, it's loose. So now I'm going to kind of reposition my towels to try and catch that oil that's going to start coming off there. So you got all that oil leaking down onto those towels. So I'm going to try and get this off here as quick as I can, and then turn it up so it doesn't leak. Alright, there we go. Got the filter off. There it is. I caught most of that oil, so now we're going to put the new filter on. Alright guys, so I want to show you this real quick. I was talking about the maintenance kit that I had ordered. This is a Stens maintenance kit for the FH680V motor that is on this mower. But like I say, you know, whatever mower you're working on, or whatever engine is on your mower, you're just going to look up on Google, you're going to put in that exact model number. So let's say you want to do maintenance on a Kohler motor. You're going to look at what model numbers on that Kohler motor, and just go to Google and say, put in the model number and say maintenance kit. It's going to bring up all kinds of companies you can order maintenance kits for. But this is pretty awesome to do your yearly maintenance, because what it's got in it, it's got your oil, it's already pulled out one of the quarts. It's got the oil filter. It has spark plugs. Has a fuel filter. And then it's got your air filter. So this is everything you need to do your yearly maintenance on these things. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and throw the oil filter on there. I'm going to put oil back into this thing, and then we're going to fire it up. Okay, so here's my oil filter. I've got some oil. Anytime you guys are doing an oil change and you're about to put the filter on, it's always good practice to get just a little bit of oil like on your fingers and rub it around this seal on the oil filter, because when you go to spin it on there, this rubber it spins up against there easier if it's got just a little bit of lubricant. So I just get a little bit of oil on my finger, I rub it around like that. That should be good. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and spin this filter on there. So you don't have to get these things crazy tight. I get it about as tight as I can get it with my hand. You don't need to get any kind of wrench on there or anything, because it's just not required, and it's going to make it that much harder when you go to change it again. Okay, I got that back on there good and tight. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the oil plug that we took off. I have just gotten in the habit of not replacing the oil plug until I have the filter and everything back on. It's just the way I change oil. I probably could have put the plug back on after I drain the oil. You can do it whichever way you choose. Okay, so we've drained our oil, we've put the new oil filter on, so now we just need to get oil in this motor and get it fired up. Okay, so now all we got to do is put some oil back into this thing, and then we're going to crank it up. So I read two different things. One said 1.6 quarts and the other one said 1.8. So we're going to start with 1.6, and we're going to check the dipstick and see where that gets us. I think I need to get a different funnel. I got a little helper. She's going to help me put oil back in this mower. All right, go for it. I'm just going to assist her and get her some oil.
Wait,
Not all of this one though. I'll pour this one in there, okay? Well, I'm not sure when this stops. Okay, you can, but just go ahead. No, yeah, don't do all of it. I'll tell you when to stop. Pour. More than that, you're going to pour quite a bit. Enough right there. Let's see how much that is. Alright, a little more. Smells great. Okay, stop. And we're going to see what that gets us.
can I help you guys?
Well, I'm not driving. Okay, so the oil's in there. I'm going to check I let it sit for a minute just to make sure it all drained down in there. And I'm going to check it. With these, you don't want to screw this on. You just want to bring it down to where it stops. Don't screw it on because that's not how you're supposed to read it. Pull it out. And actually right now, I put about 1.6 quarts in here, and it's hitting exactly where it needs to, but I haven't started the mower yet. So like I said, one thing told me 1.6 quarts, another one said 1.8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this thing up. Once I start it up, you know, some of that oil capacity is going to go into the filter, and I may need to add a little bit.
Hi guys, and I'm going to be helping my dad, and I don't know what he's doing next, but I just know I'll like it, and I'm happy to help.
She's an awesome helper.
Thumbs up.
You want to help me start it?
Yes. I know how to drive a mower too, guys.
Okay, so we're gonna start it. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn this key right here, okay? We might need to choke it a little bit.
It's gonna get loud.
Okay, so now we're going to check the oil and see where it hits on the dipstick.
Watch me go bubble, Mom.
So it did drop just a hair, but it's actually not far off from where it needs to be. I may add just a tiny bit more, and we're going to call it good. So that is how you change the oil on a zero-turn lawnmower, or really just about any type of power equipment. Pretty much the same process for all of these different types of engines. Obviously the drain plug and filter and all that stuff is going to be in a different location. They're going to take different filter types and different oil types. You just need to look up the correct type for your motor. And that's where Google is your friend. So, alright guys, keep up the DIY. Get her done. I'll talk to you later. Tess, you want to say bye?
Bye, guys.